Welcome to Assistive Technology to Support Reading, Session 3, Tools for Reading. I'm Corinne Hauer, Assistive Technology Consultant for the Muskegon Area Intermediate School District.
And I'm Jim Capilla.
This is part of a 4-part series. Again, the first 2 sessions have been recorded and are available for viewing. You can download those from our ISD PD registration website or from the links on this presentation. First session covered assessment and documentation of need for students who might benefit from reading supports. Our second session covered an array of resources for locating electronic reading material for students, and today's session will cover tools for reading. So once you've identified students who may benefit from these supports, you've identified some materials for them to be able to read, we'll be looking today at some tools for them to access those materials either through Chrome browser, through tablets, or MP3. In this first section, we're going to cover a variety of tools available on the Chromebooks and in the Chrome browser. The first tool we'll be looking at today is called Speakit, and Speakit's available in your Chrome Web Store. Advantages of this tool are it's free. It does work on most websites. It works by highlighting accessible text on a website, pressing the speak button, and it will produce text-to-speech for any speech highlight or any text highlighted. It also works in Google Docs. However, when you're using it in Google Docs, you don't have control over your text selection. It will read the whole document start to finish. Disadvantages are it does not offer highlighting or tracking of text as it's read, and it will not speak just selections of text in Google Docs. It will, again, read the whole document beginning to end. The following video will give a brief overview and introduction to the Speakit Chrome extension.
I'm going to give you the short side of the Speakit extension, and that's found right up here. It's a little speaker. You can get it from the App Store, and Speakit is a text-to-speech extension. There's a difference. And basically how it works is your student highlights some text, maybe just a little bit because it will read for a while. They right-click, and they can select Speakit from the list.
Washington. Congressional leaders in the Obama administration are close to a crucial budget deal that would modestly increase.
Okay. Obviously, it makes sense to select the amount of work that you want to hear. And so as we select more, we can actually control what's happening after we start reading.
Congressional leaders in the Obama administration are close to a crucial budget deal that would modestly increase.
We can pause it, and we can continue.
Washington. Congressional leaders in the
And if it's bad enough, we can just make it go away. Other options that are included. You can control the rate of speech. We've got a couple of different females. We'll read if you have a website in a different language other than English. It does read quite nicely. But since I only know English, I'm going to stay there. But I can control the speaking rate. Right now it's at 200 words per minute. It's pretty fast. You might want to slow that down to somewhere, 120. You can play with the pitch, but that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because it just makes something sound worse. Once you've made those changes, you can select the speaker.
This is a test text for Google Chrome extension called Speakit.
All right, that's pretty slow. That might drive a kid nuts, but you know what? This is an avenue where we want the students to pick the voicing that they hear. We want them to pay close attention and adjust their own speaking rate. And so if they want to listen to it at 100 words per minute, maybe that's okay. But then they also can listen to it much faster. Other than the rest of this, we don't deal a whole lot with speech input, but those are the options that you can deal with. And you, again, you get to those options by right-clicking on the extension. Speak It will read any web content. Doesn't do very well at all with Google Docs. It does work reasonably well if you have a PDF and you're using an extension called Cami or Doc Hub. I have a couple of support videos that I'll add to the end that you can view and see how those work, because PDFs are kind of a staple in the educational environment. But that's it. That's Speak It. A nice addition, and I hate to tell you, it's free.
An additional option in Chrome is Read and Write for Google. Advantages of this tool, again, are it's free. It does work on most websites, but will give you an error message that it's not accessible by a select few websites. It also works nicely in Google Docs. Another advantage of this tool is it allows highlighting line by line and word by word of the text. You can select just portions of the text to read by highlighting text on a page, either on a web page or on a Google document. Again, it will then it will read just your selection and highlight along that line, as well as highlight each word as it's read. And it does have some dictionary support built into it. Disadvantages of it is that the tool is not supported in Google Slides, if that's a source where students need to have text read to them. It's also not supported, again, on some websites. In the following brief video, you'll get to watch a demonstration of Read and Write for Google.
In this example, I'm going to show you Read and Write for Google, and I'm going to demonstrate the tools that are freely available when the trial period runs out. So we won't be looking at word prediction and the voice input possibilities since we're doing reading. Here we have an article from the Gale Virtual Reference Library found on the Michigan Electronic Library, and you'll see up here in my toolbar I have Read and Write for Google. If I select that, I will get a little toolbar. It floats. I can drag it around, and I can use this to, again, I don't want to read too much, read.
Muhammad Ali, who began his boxing career under the given name of Cassius Clay, distinguished himself as one of the most successful and idiosyncratic athletes in history.
So you can see that Read and Write for Google reads web pages very well. There are some web pages that it will not read, and usually this purple changes to a black. I'm not quite sure what the relationship there is. There's a settings feature that allows the adjustment of voicing, and again, typical, many voices, many different languages. Speed, can do some translation features, as many programs can do, as Google can do actually. So we'll close that down. So that's Read and Write for Google in reading a web page. Let's take a look at it, and I'm going to pause for a moment how we might get it to use how it might work in a Google Doc. Here we are in a Google Doc, and now Google Docs are occasionally not easy to read. Again, you can notice that changing from here, now we see a Read and Write for Google appearing there, and that toolbar drops down. We have the same features in Read and Write for Google.
Night sky. Ella looked up. The stars were bright in the night sky.
You can see that it highlights the text. As a free tool, this will support students writing in Google Docs. Occasionally when students are writing, they might need a little bit of feedback in terms of figuring out where they are. There are some other tools that would be available in terms of highlighting, but this is more of a writing approach. However, some students may have to justify sections that they're reading, and you can certainly highlight different areas for different colors and then of course, collect those and use those as a justification for comprehension supports in Read and Write for Google. So those are the free options that are available. Very good ones, very good ones. And I wanted to show those to you today.
And our next tool in Chrome we'll be talking about over the next several slides, and we'll also have several short videos to display some of the features available in this program. This is Snap and Read Universal. So Snap and Read Universal is, again, it's an extension available in the Chrome Web Store. It works on all websites and documents. It also works nicely in Google Docs. It offers that line-by-line and word-by-word highlighting options, just like the Read and Write for Google. In this video, we'll be showing some of those basic features of Snap and Read. Again, just the straight text reader features, which is selecting portions of the text and pressing the Read button and having that text read and highlighted.
In this demonstration, I'm going to show you Snap and Read. There are actually 3 features of Snap and Read that are kind of important, and we'll break them up into their individual parts. We can see that this icon here is the Snap and Read extension icon, and it creates this bar right here. In order to read a web-based document, or this could be a Google document, PDF, etc., in Chrome, I'll highlight a little bit of text, go up, select the speaker.
Kabul, Afghanistan. A day after a powerful earthquake hit northern Afghanistan, and
You see how it highlights the text as it's read. Of course, we know that if we wish to deal with the speech qualities in terms of rate, so on and so forth, I just right-clicked and selected options. I can adjust the speed from a hummingbird, which I guess is very fast, to a snail. We've got some language translation there. We're using the Chrome OS text-to-speech engine. Again, if you have other text that's written in different languages, you can take advantage of many different languages, and that can support your ESL students. And we know they're not just Spanish. They come from a lot of different parts of the world. Text highlighting, color, that kind of thing. But that's Snap and Read in its basic form as a text reader.
So again, we're talking about the same program. We're just going further into some of the additional features that are available in this program. In this next video, we'll be demonstrating a feature of Snap and Read Universal that allows text to be converted to a usable format so that the text reader can read it. So again, for students who need to have text read, that may be an image file on a website, it may be a locked PDF that hasn't been converted to actual text or an image of text. This program, you can select that area or image or PDF and have that text, have that image or document converted to text, which then can be selected with the text reader and read. And it does this very quickly. In this next video, we'll show you how that works.
The next tool we're going to take a look at in Snap and Read is the text recognition, or OCR tool. This particular book comes from BookFlix. It's a scholastic database found in the Michigan Electronic Library. You'll notice the text is not selectable, although I can turn the page. Now, normally this kind of material is fading away, but it's still present. Oftentimes students will get a test, or they may get a book from a publisher that has text that, has these really neat page turning features, but you can't do a darn thing with the text in terms of reading it. And so this is how the OCR tool will work, or text recognition. You get this crosshair. You simply highlight the text that you want, release, let it do its work.
Do you ever help take care of things at home or in your school?
And you can see that it highlights the text as it's read. If we went to another, we close that. If we go into another page, I could select that tool again.
Did you know you can also help take care of your whole planet? You can help take care of Earth as air, water, and land.
So you can see now that this tool can be quite useful in those web pages where they have documents created with Flash that typically are not accessible. Now they are. And that's Snap and Read, and that's the text recognition tool right here.
And a final feature, one of our favorite features of Snap and Read Universal that we'll be demonstrating in this final video is the text complexity tool. This allows on-the-fly text leveling of sorts. What you can do is a student can select a body of text. They can use a sliding scale to increase or decrease the complexity of that text. What it will do is there's some automatic analyzation of text that happens where the program goes and finds more complex vocabulary within the text and replaces it with simplified vocabulary to help support comprehension of the text. It also lays that vocabulary right next to each other to support the student in understanding the connection between the simplified vocabulary and the more advanced vocabulary from the original text. We're going to go ahead and show that feature in this next video. A couple of other features to be aware of in this program: it does translate text over 90 languages, so if you have English language learners, you need to take advantage of that. There's a desktop version available. Disadvantages requires an annual subscription. However, we do subscribe to this tool for students in our county with IEPs who need this level of support, and we'll give you some additional information at the end of this presentation to tell you how you might take advantage of that.
In this example, I'm going to show you how the text complexity tool works in Snap and Read, and it happens to be this tool here. Right now it's turned off. And so we'll see this particular document right here, and we might as well read it.
Grantor conveys, with limited warranty, unto the grantees all of a grantor's mineral interest, including but not limited to oil, gas, carbon dioxide, and all other minerals in, on, and under certain property described in the document.
Now, I don't know about you, but occasionally legalese throws me, and so perhaps the text complexity tool will help us. So you'll notice the shape that it's in. I'm going to select the text complexity tool, and notice how it changes in italicized text, the same document, and hopefully by changing that,
Grantor brings across, with limited warranty, unto the people who get money all of a grantor's mineral interest, including but not limited to oil, gas, carbon dioxide, and all other minerals in, on, and under certain property described in the document.
Okay, still confusing as heck, but maybe a little bit better. Again, we can select that text complexity tool and turn it off. In order to invoke it, we just turn it back on, and you can see the difference that it brings and the support that is most helpful in the text complexity tool. Just an example about the options for text complexity. As you move it to the left, more text will be broken down in simpler terms. To the right, fewer words. So you have to find a happy medium somewhere in there.
Now for offline reading, or actually we're not thinking about Chrome anymore. Remember computers? They're still around, and the next few tools will support computer use. The first one, along with that Snap and Read family, we have Snap and Read Universal that's available for the desktop of a Windows or Macintosh computer. It can use all three of the tools: the text reader, the text converter, and the text complexity tool. It will do translation, and it works on just about all websites. It'll work in Google Docs, but why wouldn't we use something else in Chrome? But anyway, it reads and highlights line by line and word by word. It is quite a nice feature. And if you do get a subscription to Snap and Read Universal for a student, they also would have access to the desktop version of Snap and Read. Take a look at the video and you can look at some of its features.
I want to demonstrate Snap and Read Universal for the desktop. I launched it from my taskbar, and here it is up in the upper right corner. This is the OCR option. Don't do anything with that. We want to just check our options here and see that our text
selection is turned on.
Of course, it tells me all these things, and this one would be
Preferences,
and this would be
Quit.
We don't want to do that. So let's go find out what it will do with some text in our document. Highlight some text. And sometimes you have to highlight it twice. And there it is.
A massive asteroid will hurtle by Earth on October 31st at unusually high speeds, according to scientists.
Closing it out and then reselecting what you need generally works better.
The asteroid, dubbed 2015 TB145, was discovered October 10th by the Panoramic Survey Telescope.
So that's the options of looking at Co-Writer Universal for the desktop, companion piece to the extensions in the Chrome operating system. This way a student can get the support they need no matter what they're using.
Another text reader that's been available for a long time is Natural Reader. And this is the free version. There's also a paid version available, but it too will read any document on your computer. You have to copy and paste the information into Natural Reader to have it read. Of course, as with all text-to-speech engines, you can select voicing, you can select rate, and so on and so forth, and that's always best for the student to do. But take a look at this video and you can get an idea of what Natural Reader can do for you.
I'm going to show a free reader, text-to-speech reader called Natural Reader. And we launch her up. Pretty simple to use, a big play button here.
Welcome to Natural Reader text-to-speech software. Natural Reader is a professional text.
Great text highlighting. It's nice that it highlights the sentence word by word. It helps students be able to focus on what's in front of them, and it can be a great support. Another option for this is, and I can't seem to do a new document today, so I'm going to show you the floating toolbar. And I'm going to say done, and so there's my floating toolbar. I bring up a document about our favorite baseball team, highlight some text, select read.
The Red Sox finished third in the AL East in 2011 and expected a strong follow-up season with a lineup anchored by Jacoby Ellsbury, Dustin Pedroia.
So it doesn't highlight the text as it's read, but given the student's ability to select what they want read, it's a great free tool. The paid version allows you to convert things to MP3, but we're looking at free stuff today. So that is the Natural Reader. You might want to check that out.
Probably the grandpa of all applications, Adobe Reader. It's been around a very long time. It's a very popular format in education and elsewhere, but there's also a free text reader built into Adobe Reader, and the nice part of it is it doesn't require any software at all. It's built in, and of course, as you'll see in the video, how that is all set up. The disadvantages would be that it reads the entire page. So if it's a 100-page PDF, you might want the student to learn how to access the speech controls or the reading controls. They're not visible. They are available, and you will see that in the video, how a person can control that. The good part of it is it's available in Adobe Reader, Adobe Acrobat Professional. And so if you have a PDF just about anywhere in the world on any machine, you can always access Adobe Reader. So take a look at the video.
This example of showing you reading supports built into a variety of offline materials, I'm going to demonstrate here in Acrobat Reader how Acrobat Reader has text-to-speech support built in. A couple of preliminary things that you need to do, for instance, under Edit and Preferences, and go down to Reading. Where is it? There it is. You can make sure that the read out loud options, you can control your volume, the pitch, and the words per minute. You can pick the potential voices that you can use. I'm going to use Microsoft Anna, which is a free one, part of Windows, oh gosh, Windows 7 through who knows where. So we'll select OK. Now step 2 is to go to View and select Read Out Loud, and you have to excuse me, activate it. If you're really good about remembering these key combinations, it might be a good thing to do. Activate it, and then we'll go back to View, and we're going to read this page. So it's Control-Shift-V, which is a hard thing to do, but here goes. And then I'm going to remember Control-Shift-C, where I can pause it. So here we go.
Writing supports for students who struggle with readers. Workshop students struggle with writing for a couple of reasons. Students may have poor handwriting skills due to fine motor difficulties, writing on a small.
So I just paused it. Now you can see that in a simple program like Adobe Reader, we have support. It's probably makes sense to maybe make a little document about how to stop these things and control that. If you deactivate Read Out Loud, then you'll have to activate it again. But that's an offline support in Adobe Reader. It's also available in Adobe Professional as well.
Finally, we're looking at tablets and mobile devices, in particular the iDevices, Android, and of course the MP3 player. Thinking about the iPad, there's built into the system of the iPad, you can actually invoke a text reader that really is quite a nice feature, considering that you may want to access a web page or iBooks, and it's a matter of selecting a bit of text and you get a little menu popping up that gives you the opportunity to speak it. Take a look at the, not speak at the extension, but speak the text. Take a look at the video, and you can take a look at how you might want to set up this support on your iPad or iPod.
Here we have our iPod, or iPad rather, I'm sorry, going to show you the built-in text-to-speech features in the iPad. And we've got to do one thing first, and that would be to go to Settings and open that up. Under the General tab, we want to take a look at Accessibility. In Accessibility, we're going to look for Speech, which is here. And what we want is to make sure that Speak selection is turned on, and it does happen to be turned on for me at the moment. I can adjust my speaking rate, and it should give me a little bit of an echo.
Speak selection reads selected content.
So it does give you an option that you can find an acceptable rate. Once I've done that, I can back out of Accessibility and back out of General and go back to my home screen. I've got an option under Safari, but I'm going to show you an option with some files that I have. You notice that I had this selected here. I don't want to do that and make you think I was just kidding. I'm going to select, grab a handle, and And now you see the speak button. Select speak.
Circuit board, copper wafer, Radio Shack Part 276-1499. Thinner circuit board may be desired and may be found at your local electronics store. They may also be able to direct you to local companies that use circuit boards that might be willing to give you their scrap circuit board pieces.
So you can see how it works with the text. And some text is actually highlighted, and it really varies to a degree. I've had a couple other different books in iBooks where it did actually read it, and then sometimes it read and highlight, and then sometimes it doesn't. If I do a web search, and I'm at the New York Times, and maybe we can get something to come up here. Maybe we find Stephen Harper. I don't know who that guy is, but we'll go to an article. And as it's loading, we'll do the same thing. We'll hover, actually touch a word, and we'll have it. You'll get a little hourglass view, release, and then you'll have an option to select more text by grabbing those little round handles, and then you'll have a menu across the top that will allow you to have that material read to you. But with the good graces of the web, there we go. We finally have our article ready. I'm going to select, here's my little highlighter, and obviously I don't want to read one word. I should probably maybe try to read that whole sentence there. Select speak.
Its third election info.
Okay, and so using that same option, we can use the built-in text-to-speech functions in an iPad or an iPod to support students that need that little extra support with listening. Thank you.
Another app that's available for the iDevices is Voice Dream Reader. We use it primarily to access Bookshare books because that's a biggie, but it will read any document on your iPad, and most recently it will read documents, web-based documents, because now in iOS 9 you have the ability to split your screen and actually do two things at once, which is a new feature in iOS devices. You can customize, again, the voicing, the look of it in terms of text, font size, background color. It will integrate with a number of available text options, and you can also highlight and export portions of text. It does cost $9.95, but we do get it at a volume discount for half that price. So take a look at this video for Voice Dream Reader.
I'm going to show you the Voice Dream Reader app for Bookshare and other books. I need to go to my folders. I'm sorry, I need to hit done here. And normally you come to this screen where you see the plus. And so I'll select plus, and you can see that I can read a variety of articles. Certainly if you had students with articles in Dropbox that you shared with them, or from iCloud, that could be quite useful. We're going to particularly look at this for Bookshare. And so we'll look at, again, we've got a book for London here. Let's look for the book called Holes. And there it is. I'll select it. Same is true with the other book. When I download it, I pick the student, and then I pick download again. You can see that it's loading. It's ready in the background. So that happened in real time. I'll select done. I'll select the book. And we don't necessarily want to read that front matter, so we might jump right to the first chapter.
There is no lake at Camp Green Lake. There once was a very large lake here, the largest lake.
You can see that the text is highlighted as it's read, and we have a couple of features up here of note. We can select the audio settings. We can be very precise in our speech rate, and that can be helpful. Typically, a student might require a little slower rate to begin with, and you can use the fantastic buttons here to adjust that more precisely. You can select voices. Heather is a very good one that's pretty common in iOS devices. Looking at the visual settings, you can show the line and show the word, which is necessary, but down here under lines visible, if I were to select 5, notice the work is pared down to the current page that's being read and shows only 5 at a time.
That was over 100 years ago.
If I go back, you'll then be able to see that what 3 lines look like, what 1 line looks like. And so for students that have some difficulty with distractions, these settings might be useful to you. Obviously, we can increase the font size if we wish for students that would need that. We can increase the spacing between words to again help students focus on the word being read. And so that is Voice Dream Reader, a pretty good support for using Bookshare Books and others. This app, single use price is $9.95.
On the Android side of the world, which is everybody else, we have a text-to-speech option called Voice Aloud. Voice Aloud, just like every other text-to-speech engine, you can customize the look, the font, the quality of voice. There are 2 versions of this, a paid and a non-paid version. The non-paid version, and you'll notice in the video where the speech controls are, ads tend to pop up there, and on a smaller 7-inch Android tablet, a student might want to adjust the speech and actually hit an ad, which makes things only interesting. So at $4.95, it's a pretty good support for just about anything you want to read on an Android tablet, and that can be quite nice. Take a look at the video and take a look at Voice Aloud for Android.
I'm going to show you a text-to-speech feature on an Android tablet called Voice Aloud Reader. It's this one right here. It is a paid version, and it will read just about any document. I can get the play button.
Biden also mentioned that he knew about the intelligence on bin Laden's
you can see that
location
it's
before Hillary
highlighting the
Clinton
text
did.
as it's read.
Washington.
So how do we get these things in there? We're going to go back home, and I'm going to go to a web browser. And the way you have to use these things is that you have to share a document. And so I'm here at the New York Times, and I'm going to just select this article here. And wait a moment while it loads. And what you have to do is pay attention to these 3 dots up here. We'll actually share this with Voice Aloud Reader. And once it's up and running, I'm going to select. I'm going to go down to Share Page, and I'm going to select Voice Aloud Reader, and it will, in a course of some time, open up and read
Oregon shooting
that
survivor
document.
pretended to be dead. CNN.com.
And it starts
Story
reading
highlights.
as soon as
Tracy
we
HEU stayed
get
face down
to
in pool of
the document. So that's Voice Aloud Reader, and that's a text-to-speech option on the Android tablet. I like it. It seems to work pretty well. Single copy is $4.95. There's a free version, but it has ads running on the bottom that actually might get in the way of the controls. So that's it. Voice Aloud Reader, text-to-speech support for the Android tablet.
Looking at another Android app, This is a free one. It's called Go Read, and this one particularly works with Bookshare. You get, again, highlighting line by line. You can adjust font size, color, speech capabilities. This one, and it's true with previous text-to-speech engines for Android, they all seem to highlight line by line. They don't do word by word. But and it is limited to looking at Bookshare files. So this is this video will give you an idea what Go Read will work. And by the way, it does also work on the Nook.
Here we are, we're using an Android tablet. We're going to look at getting some Bookshare books, and we're going to look at the Go Read app, which happens to be right here, and I'll go ahead and launch that. And it always launches to the last page of the last book that you were on. Now, we can read this by roughly just hitting in the middle, and I see our menu comes up over here. I can select Read to Me, and it will start reading.
Sure, he was very busy. The emergency pack on the plane had given him a gun with 50 shells as survival.
Selecting that, you can see that ghost back here, so the students can see that all the time and play and pause as they need to. Sentences are highlighted as it's read, and that's a nice feature. I want to show you how we go about getting a new book from Bookshare. Our main menu comes up, and we can see Get Bookshare Books. Select that. This time I'm going to do I can do a title search or author search. I'm going to do a search for a Jack London book, and so I'll type in London and press search, and it fetches some books. And here we have South Sea Tales by Jack London. That's the book I want. It's available only in text only, but occasionally you do get a book that will have some images. And I'm going to pick the student that it's for. And I have to answer yes, of course. And the book has been downloaded and read, and that was in real time. Select that book. Got a number of, there's always front matter from Bookshare. We can swipe and get to where we want to be. Again, these are our chapters. I can bring up my menu, select Read to Me.
The House of Mapuhi, The Whale Tooth, Mauki, The Heathen.
And you can see how it begins to read. Again, looking at our little window here, we have a main menu that should be familiar because we downloaded a book before. But let's take a look at settings. In the settings file, things that I find important are dealing with text. Occasionally on a new device, the font size is quite small, and so we will probably want to change that. I'll change it to 28 just because. I'll go back again.
The Terrible Solomons, The Inevitable White.
As soon as I go back, it reads. Another feature is the text to speech option. That's found in the main menu. And if we scroll a little bit, we'll see text-to-speech settings. Bring that up. I happen to like the Google text-to-speech engine. It's a fine one. You can pick it. You can add voices if you wish for a fee. Those two seem to work fine for me, and I'm going to leave it like that. Speech rate is how fast things are spoken, and what you were listening to is a slow speed. I don't know how to equate these in words per minute. I do find that normal and fast are pretty darn quick for a beginner, so you might want to move it to slow or very slow. Again, if you make changes, you can always listen.
This is an example of speech synthesis in English.
Otherwise, go back, and again go back.
The Inevitable White Man.
And you can read you can have your student read your book, read the book and enjoy Bookshare Books and the fantastic opportunity with the text-to-speech and a great resource in Bookshare.
Lastly, we're looking at MP3 books. And these actually, they're not really books. They're files, audio files that you put on an MP3 player or your phone or your iPad, iPod, Android device, dedicated player. Very portable stuff. No one really knows what you're listening to anyway, and typically these are probably way more heavily in the human recorded version, but we have software that we can convert any text file into a synthesized speech-based file. You'd have the same voicing that you hear in your standard text reader. The disadvantage for students, who use this, they typically have a book in front of them and they need to follow along. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's pretty difficult for kids that struggles with reading just to work with an audio-only file. If you've ever listened to an audiobook in the car, hopefully you haven't daydreamed and driven off the road. But it is portable. There are no supports for comprehension. So again, while it's a nice portable unit, it may not be the most perfect solution. However, it is a solution for students who need that. What follows are a couple of videos on how to load, how to delete files off of an MP3 player.
In this example, we're going to show you how to remove files from your MP3 player so that you might prepare it for new files and another student's use. I've launched Windows Media Player 11. I have plugged in my media player, my MP3 player, and you'll notice that it is in the list. I want to select it first off, and when we do, I want to go to the Sync tab and select the Sync tab. From the Sync tab, we've got a couple of options. We can select Artist from this list, or we might select Artist from here. Double-clicking will show us the 5 songs. Notice that Artist is highlighted. Well, we really just want to delete them. So I will move to the CD icon. I will right-click on it. From that drop-down menu, I will select Delete. From this pop-up window, I'll select OK. In fact, I do want to delete those files. And the files are now gone. The MP3 player is empty and ready for further student use. This next example will show you how to sync files with your MP3 player. And while we'll be using book files, you can also do the same thing with music. We are using Windows Media Player 11, and I've already connected my MP3 player to my computer, and it is listed here. When you're doing this for the first time, the computer will take sometimes up to 2 minutes to recognize that the player is part of the system. Once you've done that, though, repeated attempts will work much faster. So we're assuming right now that you've connected your player and you're reading it and recognizing it in Windows Media Player. To get ready to sync files, you notice we're in the Library tab. We want to move to the Sync tab. In the Sync tab, this stuff is not all that important. We're going to focus on this area right here. This is where we will drag our files and drop them. Now on my desktop, I have a folder of book files that I placed there so that I can easily sync those to my MP3 player. I've done this because I find that I'm not able to make these happen, make these sync well from the from a CD or from a network drive situation. So my recommendations for you is to move a folder of the files onto your desktop so that you're ready to sync. and it will work for you. First of all, we need to select all of those files, and you can lasso it that way. You can go up to edit and you can select all. It really doesn't matter. But the point is, I want them selected. I'm going to drag them and drop them in the sync list area. Now, it's important to note at this point that my files are not in any particular order. We want to order those files so that'll make it easier for the student to use the player and read chapters in the proper order. So I'm going to go up to the sync list menu and select the drop down, and I'm going to go to sort, and I'm going to sort these by file name. And right now they're in reverse order. So let's go back and do that one more time. File name. There. They're in the order that I would like them to be in. The next thing to do is go to our sync tab, our sync button rather, and start the sync process. And you can see that up here that process is happening. It does take a minute or so, not a speedy process. Depending on the size of the books, it can take a while. Now you can see that they're all synchronized to the device. The next step is to disconnect, and the device is now ready for student use.
So that concludes our tools for reading accessible materials. Some possible next steps is to determine some tools and platforms that are readily available for your students. So looking around your classroom, around your building, asking students about what supports they might have available at home. Do they have Chromebooks available? Do they have the Chrome browser accessible to them on a computer in your classroom or elsewhere in the school or at home? Do they have some mobile devices that they can use? Gathering all that information, then determining from that what extensions or software might be necessary to install, and reviewing the videos within this presentation for, again, to review the features available and a little how to use those. There, I also included a link for reviewing that student criteria and the license request process for students who might need some of those features referenced in the Snap and Read Universal extension. Again, just to review quickly, those features are that beyond the traditional text reader features, that it will do that automatic conversion of text to an accessible format for websites that may not be already built in an accessible format, or documents that might not be. It will also do that text leveling process for students who need to have some simplified versions of text available to them. So if you click on the link here on this slide for Snap and Read criteria for use and license request process, that will bring you to a PDF document that will give you a little bit more information on that. Once you've got your tools chosen and installed and ready to use, then it's about introducing those to your students and monitoring their comprehension, understanding that students are going to need some time, repeated exposure and time to get used to listening to text and reading text in this manner. If you're monitoring comprehension and students still seem to be struggling, our next session, which will be posted November 3rd, we'll look at some online tools for supporting comprehension and give you some additional options beyond just the text reader. If you have any questions, you can always contact Jim or myself, and we'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.